Leo, what did you make of what Eddie Izzard had to say? Are right-wing comedians, on the whole, racist and sexist?
No, he's completely incorrect. Many of us are also homophobic and transphobic. I think it really just shows how out of touch Eddie Izzard is. In the 80s, when alternative comedy, this big wave of sort of lefty alternative comedy came through, all the sort of old school 70s, working men's clubs comedians said they didn't understand this new comedy and it didn't make any sense and they didn't get the jokes. Eddie Izzard just sounds exactly like that. He's been a part of the establishment for about 30 years now, and he doesn't see that this new wave of comedians coming through and actually questioning the establishment, questioning all these stultified left-wing ideas are actually the free thinkers. And if he's going to look, he says that right-wing comedians are problematic. If you look at the spate of sexual harassment and rape accusations, they're all left-wing comedians, people like James Beach or Beich, or however you pronounce it. So, I think it's a bit rich for Eddie to come out and start pointing the finger of morality at right-wing comedians. And also, when we talk about right-wing, I don't think he understands that the meaning of right-wing has moved on. We're not homophobic, racist, Nazi bigots anymore. We just want, right-wing people just want smaller government, lower taxes, less government interference in people's lives. We don't want to build concentration camps. Frankly, I'm opposed to building concentration camps because that is state spending.
Well, good to hear that, Leo, because I go to bed with you every night. If you know that, Bill, I have you on the radio.
I'm usually there as well, Leo. Don't worry about it.
But what I'm saying, a threesome there as we go to sleep with you with us. Now, have you moved on? Are we talking about different things that you pop in jokes at? And because it's now you're taking the mickey or looking at the news headlines. So you're looking at everything, not certain topics, but absolutely everything that you think you can take a jibe at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Headliners is a great example of something that allows diversity of opinion. So at 11 p.m. every night on GBNews, we have 3 comedians going through the next day's news headlines. And there's right-wing comedians, there's left-wing comedians, there's comedians who don't have a political bias. And we all discuss and we debate and we come up with funny stuff around it. Whereas a lot of comedy on the BBC and on mainstream channels is just the same left-wing, hard-baked, nonsensical ideas just repeated until you're sick of them. And so I think the right has any free-thinking person is questioning these assumed holy cows that have been given to us by the leftist establishment.
I mean, obviously, Eddie Izzard had never heard of people like Ken Dodd and Kenny Everett and Bob Monkhouse and people like that. Presumably, he was probably thinking of people like Bernard Manning and Chubby Brown, I guess. The question I've got, Leo, that I want to ask Eddie Izzard is, are left-wing comedians actually funny? Because I don't think they are.
No, I think it's very difficult for a left-wing comedian to be truly funny because they've got the cultural power. So when we talk about comedy, punching up or punching down, left-wing comedians for some reason always think that they're punching up at some imaginary power. They don't seem to realise that the left has the cultural power in the UK. If you look at the BBC, for example, I think it was the Daily Mail did a survey. They surveyed all comedians on the BBC who have a political, have a stated political position. 98% of BBC comedians were left-wing, and 2% were Jeff Norcott. That's the level of bias we're talking about.